Hi, I'm Maggie,
Hi, I'm Grace, and this is
a very bookish podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to a very bookish podcast. Today is episode 66. Got it right. Last week I said 66 with Amelia Wilde. We
okay.
skipped a week though, but this is episode 66, and I'm gonna just put it out there right now. Full spoilers for Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, and Moonknight. We're talking about all of that today. Grace and I watched both the season and the movies, and we have not talked about either of them together. And so this is our full reaction to each other's thoughts is this episode. Like this is the first time we've talked about it. So
So
there's a lot
I
of
do
thoughts.
want to, yeah. There's, I watched it twice. I watched it on Thursday, opening night, I guess, and then Friday. I watched it twice. So the first time I was able to get everything in, and then the second time able to get everything in. I have many thoughts. I brought notes. I brought notes and continue to add to them. It's a lot. It's a lot that I want to discuss. It's a lot that I want to talk about. But before we go into the actual movie, let's go into a little bit before the movie, thoughts going into the movie. Maggie, you are a Wanda stan. We're talking before movie, before anything else. We're and then we'll go into after our final thoughts. Going into the movie, Wanda stan.
I was a Wanda stan. And I was like, she couldn't do anything to make me like mad at her. Like, I'm a Wanda apologist. Like, I was like, she's traumatized. Like, after WandaVision, I was like, I understand where she was coming from. And like, a WandaVision made me love her more as a character. And I was going into Multiverse of Madness, and I was like, I have no idea what's going to happen.
Okay. Did you have any? How did you feel about Doctor Strange?
Stephen Strange as a character, we always see him like as a side character because we've only gotten one of his movies. So we've always seen him as a side character. So to be honest, I always just never really had too much opinion on him because like it's just been so long. And like I mean with No Way Home, I really like loved him in No Way Home because he was that like, also spoiler alerts for all Marvel content, anything
up to date
up to date
this week of after Mother's Day.
But in No Way Home, I really liked him and his interactions with Peter, and I kind of saw that more like, I don't know, I liked that. I was like, oh, he's definitely zaddy. And Benedict Cumberbatch I love. Like, the man is gorgeous. But yeah, so I didn't really have much expectations when it came to Strange. Or America Chavez or anybody. How about you?
Okay, so I was not a Wanda apologist. I mean, I got it. I was just like, okay. I see the trauma. I see why you thought you were doing that. You were she's gotta remember, she's young. She was 15 in Age of Ultron. You know, it hasn't been that long. She's very young. I want to say she's maybe like in her early 20s, right? She has had no training of her powers, no like restrictions, no like this is where we're going. She hasn't had anybody telling her like, hey, we don't do that because we're trying to help people. She hasn't had anybody like that. So whole WandaVision, I got that. I saw her grief. I understood it. I did feel sad for her. I did feel all of that, blah, blah, blah. WandaVision left a lot of doors open for what's going to come in the rest of phase 4, right? I've watched all of the Marvel shows. I've had my, ponderings. Oh, this is going to open this door. This is going to open that door. We're expanding Marvel universe outside of the core Avenger group, right?
Yeah.
This is where we get to expand and see new projects and seeing different types of characters on the screen or on the small screen. That's what I was most excited about. Stephen Strange, I didn't not like him and I didn't love him. It was
You just
kind
didn't
of
have
like
any opinions.
it was kind of
right?
like I understood him. I understood the character dynamic. I did want to see a little bit of growth with him and how he understood his power and the balance of like choosing yourself and choosing the greater good and understanding that sacrifice between the two. As he did in Endgame, he did sacrifice the Time Stone and everybody within those, like, that being blipped. He sacrificed all that because he knew the outcome was to come, right? Also, the after effects of the outcome, right? What is to come of this, right? Or he should have. I mean, I would have looked at what happens after I make the turn right, but whatever. And I was cool with it. I was like, okay, maybe he's not going to get his happily ever after, but he's doing what he needs to do. We're going to see more into the mystic arts, blah, 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 blah. Right? And then after Spider-Man No Way Home, we're seeing, okay, homeboy did not understand the consequences of his actions, of doing whatever he wanted and pushing the bounds of what he can do with his magic simply because he wants to, he's been like a showboat ever since like he was a surgeon. He was just like, no, I can do that, or I'm too good for that. I can do better. I can push the boundary. That has been his theme. And so he did that in Spider-Man No Way Home. And we saw the consequences of that and fucked up another character right there, a whole, and it happened. And here I was expecting to see some consequences, some like learning from doing things a certain way. Yeah, I was excited to go into this. My thoughts going into the theater, I was running. That's number one. The movie said 9:30. And then all of a sudden I look at my ticket at 9:15 and it said 9:20. And I was like, oh, what? So me and Jacob are speeding down to the theater. We're running. We're so excited. We're so pumped. And our thoughts kind of going into this is we're just gonna like, this is a connection. This is where things start lining up. This is where Loki starts coming in, because we keep hearing from Kevin Feige that what Sylvie and Loki did at the end of his show allowed for the spell to mishap, allowed for multiverse to cross over, to expand, to blah blah blah, all the things TVA stand for, right? We saw a little glimpse of Kane the Conqueror. I'm like, okay, we're getting somewhere, right? That's what my thought going in.
Boy, were we seriously disappointed.
Okay, like out of 10, how would you rate this movie? I've thought about this a lot. Do you can't think of it? Is 5 a better number? A 5 out of 5?
Like 4 out of 10. I rate it like a 4 out of 10, maybe. Okay.
I give it like a 5, 6, 5, 6.
Okay.
5.
Here's my reasoning. In the sense of like the movie alone. Like I'm thinking of it like if somebody who's not a Marvel fan goes and watches this, they're gonna be like, what the fuck is up?
It's gonna be like, so many things are going on, but cool movie, things happen.
Yeah, and it's gonna be like it's a cool movie, but they're not gonna get like those a lot of the fan service that was happening. And then like I think about it like in the concept of all the TV shows that have happened, like WandaVision, Loki, and No Way Home, all of those happening, and I'm like, what did it add? What did it
Nothing.
add to Marvel Phase 4?
Nothing.
And I was like, nothing. It literally didn't add
nothing.
anything to this. Like,
it added nothing. It added absolutely nothing, because what are we doing in this movie? This movie, first of all, this is my main point here. This movie could have been called anything else other than
did I send you that
Multiverse of
TikTok?
Madness. No.
Oh, I sent you a TikTok and it was talking about how they should not have named it Multiverse of Madness because they were literally in like 2-3 multiverses. Like it was not
Multiverse of Madness. Multiverse of Madness is what we saw on Loki after they killed the one who remained, and on the screens of all the realities and all the variants of all of these things branching off. We were supposed to see what's happening out there outside of the TVA, what's happening in the original timeline, what's going on. That's madness. That was madness. We saw that. And this movie was supposed to see us actually in it. This movie was supposed to be madness of the multiverse.
It was not.
Was not. Oh my gosh, I was so mad.
Okay, one of the things that really angered me about this movie is how fast it was going.
It
like,
was,
do you know what?
Thing after thing
so,
after thing after thing.
And it was so fast to the point where it was like there was no thought, like somebody would say something and they're like automatically, okay, let's go, kind of thing, where it was like, wait, you're not gonna sit and think about this? Like there was no pause, and like that's where
There's
I think
really plan going through.
Yeah. And like when Wanda, okay, so when Strange visited Wanda, and she was like,
orchard?
Yeah, in the apple orchard, and she was like, I'm coming for America. And then it literally like cues to them already like preparing for her to come, and I'm like, I want to see where like Strange shows up and is like, holy fuck, like we need to prepare, and you kind of get that like preparing for stuff. Yeah, and like there's always like this at least foundation for things that need to be built up within the movie.
Yeah,
but this
more
was
like of a cause and effect. This happens, so then this happens. Not this happens and then this happens and then this happens. It just felt disconnected.
What did you think? Like the beginning scene felt so.
It felt like you're just jumping into it, and I felt like it was low key, kind of trying to do what No Way Home did, where like you're jumping into it right, like into his sense of urgency of like trying to get away. But this movie, it just kind of gave. It did give that dream-esque vibe, and then we get this sense of action, we get this sense of like cold opening in a sense, and then we just jump right into Steven getting ready for the wedding. And then on top of that, real quick, on top of that, the dialogue irritated me so much, because it's like you're saying exactly what you're doing. We don't need you to tell us what you're doing. Just do it. We're not dumb. Don't be like America was just like, oh my gosh, you're killing me. You're taking my energy. You're blah, 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 whatever she was saying. Girl, we can see. We can see.
What I think this movie failed about with the opening was that with Spider-Man No Way Home, it literally picked off where the second movie ended, like automatically. So like if you watch the second movie, automatically you understand, okay, this is where we're at. Like, it's immediately picks up where the second movie left off. And what felt weird about this movie is it literally opens into this, and you're like, at first I was like, wait, did they skip part of the movie? Like, that was my first reaction, where I was like, wait, did the movie just like skip a whole bunch? And I was like, wait, I thought like the movie theater had messed up. That was my first reaction, because I was like, this doesn't, what is this? And and also it being, I don't know, it just felt so, the movie as a whole felt so rushed, and I don't think character arcs were able
They
to be
didn't make
explored.
sense. They didn't make sense. They didn't make sense, and I'm gonna tell you why they didn't make sense. Number one, Wanda is, you see her kicking ass the entire movie. Kicking ass. Okay, and I get it. Fine, cool, whatever. She's doing, yeah, great. That's what she always does in the comic books as well. And then in the end, she's won. She won. She won. She has America Chavez. She's draining her power. America Chavez is dead. Oh, but let's wait a little second, because Steven needs to catch up.
I think I said
And
you were
then
talking
she
about
just-
this too.
She just stops. She just stops draining her power, and then Steven gets a chance to like come in. Then on number two, in that she is all this all-powerful thing, and yet America Chavez gets to run up on her, do a battle cry, and then punch her, and then land more blasts on her. I'm confused. I'm very confused. And America Chavez is moving at a human speed. She's not enhanced in any other way besides her power to open portals. And yet she landed blows.
This is what irked me, is also, if you watched in WandaVision, Wanda took Agatha's powers. Agatha didn't die. So one of my things was like, Wanda can take people's powers without killing them. So she literally could have taken America's powers and not killed her. So that's why I was so confused. And I get, maybe like, because America is like special and she can travel the universe, like it's different between it being like witchcraft and stuff that Agatha has. But I was just like, it felt, and like the thing with Wanda is the end scene of like, she kicked ass. Okay, I felt like this was more of a Wanda movie than it was
it
Doctor
was
Strange.
It was.
Honestly,
it was not his movie. It was her movie. Which
it was literally
cool. I didn't really care about that.
And I think I love Wanda, but I was getting so annoyed with her this movie. Like, I love Wanda and I relate to her as a character a lot and stuff. But after watching WandaVision, it kind of set up that, like, I understand that like the Darkhold like is literally like basically taken over for her and stuff, and so she's not herself.
Yeah.
And I get that. Like, I get that. But it just felt so like, it was just so repetitive of her being like, I'm not a monster, I'm a mother, and then her killing all these people and stuff. And with the Illuminati scene, that scene where she was killed, which she's like, what mouth?
Yeah, okay. I got thoughts about that. Let's go into the Illuminati scene.
Okay.
Because oh my gosh. Okay. First thoughts on watching this scene. First of all, throughout the movie, I'm kind of falling asleep. But during this scene,
I was falling asleep too.
During this scene, I was like, cool, Illuminati, you teased it way too much in the trailers. You didn't leave us. Oh, wow, right? We see Captain Carter, and I'm like, hey.
This is Jacob.
Yeah, it's Jacob. Come here, Jacob. Come sit down. Come sit down. We're gonna have my brother come in and give some thoughts.
Okay, wait, before we talk about the Illuminati, um I was literally on TikTok like 4 hours before the movie started. And I saw it was a The Office edit and it was like, look at this transformation. And it was The Office. So I was like, okay, whatever. Like it's nothing. And then it shows Reed Richards. And I was like, are you serious? So I literally got that spoiled for me. So everybody in the theater was like cheering and stuff. And I was just like,
There were leaks of that beforehand,
yeah.
and it was on Twitter, and I saw the leak beforehand, and I kind of already assumed they had the Illuminati, so I was like, of course they're gonna have at least Reed Richards or even Iron Man or things like that. So I was like, kind of expecting a Reed Richards. I wasn't expecting Krasinski, but it happened. And then once it happened, I was like, oh, Jim Halpert, Tuna. Like, what's up?
Dude, before we went to go watch this movie, we were watching The Office. We were watching The Office. So like seeing him, it was like
Okay,
Something about it. Didn't like him as Reed Richards.
it felt forced. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it felt like he was acting.
Yeah.
And I think it felt so off because it was like when he first showed up, he was all like trying to be serious, but I couldn't take him serious at all. I was just like,
Like, hello, Steven. And I'm like, well, ew. Like, you sound like you're trying to be sexy and like cool, but like Reed Richards is the definition of not trying to be cool. He's a dork who's antisocial and he doesn't get the rhythm of other people, and that's why he can't have a normal conversation with people. And he learns how to be a family man through Sue and through Johnny and through Ben. And Ben is kind of like dragging him along to do these things. So he wants to do things by himself, and he wants to. I'm getting too far into it. Somebody's calling me. Who's this?
but like okay, when you saw him and then you saw
pull the
other
mic
people,
a little bit away. You're talking right up to it.
Thank you. When you saw the rest of them pop up, it was like, okay, there it is. It's there. You saw Carter. Okay.
I was not impressed. I wasn't
neither.
impressed with who it is.
Cool that we saw Monica Rambeau as Captain Marvel. Cool. We got that version of her. Wasn't too impressed because okay, yeah, we're getting a Marvel movie. Cool though. I did like her. I liked her suit. But that's pretty much it. And then we're getting this whole conversation. We're getting this whole storyline. It felt kind of slow. And then all of a sudden you get like Xavier stroll up in. It's like, oh yeah, let's tell him the truth. And then it's just like,
even when they were getting introduced, it felt like it's starting to feel, and I kind of got this sense from like Spider-Man No Way Home too. Like, it feels like when they get introduced, it's like, let's give a chance for the audience to applaud because they like stand there like, oh. And when like it was like the Inhumans, and it's like a pause and like the camera pans to them, and then the camera pans to them, and it's like, yeah, I get it's for us, but like as a film, it's starting to get to the point to where like, how much are we going to keep on doing this?
It felt so much fan service throughout this whole film where I was kind of just like, okay, I get it. Like, I get you're trying to like gear towards the Marvel fans, but it was too much.
I totally feel like when they were talking about like, oh yeah, there were reshoots and refilming. I totally feel like Reed, that was a refilm. I feel like maybe it was somebody else that they had another whatever, but I feel like that was a refilm.
A lot of seats. There were like an extra seat, and I would assume
thought that too. I thought there was an empty one.
Yeah, there was, and they said it was Mordo, but like that seat was Doctor Strange, and he just filled in for Mordo. So I think there was an extra seat, and since there's Ultron robots there, you would assume it's Tony.
Yeah.
But people are saying Reed built Ultron, so it's like,
yeah, it was so confusing. And then I was just kind of like, when Peggy showed up, I was just like,
She threw the shield, and I was like, "Why'd you do that for?" Like, oh,
it was so awkward. I sat there and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, why would you do
supposed to
that?
give, you know what? It was supposed to. It filmed like it was supposed to give the Mjolnir coming right back and catching it. It was. That's what it felt like. It felt like you're following the object and then you're getting right back to Cap. That's what it felt like. It was filmed like, and it just lacked so bad. It was.
we're nitpicking right now and things like that, but like,
But as fans, we can, because like it
uh,
just, I just hated it.
I just loved how Wanda just walked in there and
Obliterated them.
and it's
Butt
like
mouth.
it's exactly how she should have handled it, but also like you gotta
Dude.
like Black Bolt can't die like that technically, but I mean, like in the comics, like anybody could win. Like if Wanda really wanted to beat him, she would have turned his head into like, I don't know, like literally anything. Like she could have just crushed his head right there. But
Yeah.
you know, that's a nitpick. Reed Richards extending his hand out, like being like, "Oh, I'm gonna do that," and then he gets torn to shreds. No, like Reed, you're the smartest man in the universe. Like pull out one of your multiple like things you have. Think in that situation. If you were saying you fear Doctor Strange, Doctor Strange is the greatest like threat to the multiverse. You would think, okay, this Doctor Strange is tripping over Wanda. Why is he tripping over that? I'm thinking ahead. I'm thinking ahead. I'm thinking ahead. The only person who thought ahead was Professor X and saying like, okay, if you escape here, make sure she gets to the Book of Ashanti because you're not doing this for no reason, clearly. And I trusted you as a friend once. Let's go here. It just felt like the Illuminati was so caught up on like Doctor Strange is bad, but they like ignore all the other and since they even said they know about the multiverse, so they would assume I'm pretty sure you would assume if there's a character who could dream walk and would go to these lengths of doing that, they'd be like, okay, let's put on like let's take this seriously. They didn't. And but also they could have done nothing in that situation. But the fact that you it's terrible.
Wanda, I think it was so iconic because like she just obliterated them. Like it was just, and I get the Raimi like horror style, so I guess that's why all the deaths were that way. Because it's like that shock factor because like
Oh,
when
hold on. Monica Rambeau like dying with the statue. Come on, you could have done better than that.
I laughed at that. I laughed. I was like,
So
that's what killed her.
Wanda could absorb powers in the comic book. She absorbs powers.
Mhm.
So I think, and you kind of saw her suit being absorbed right there. And I guess she absorbed all her power. So like, yeah, I guess the statue could kill her in the way of like she was just a whole normal human being at that point. Like Wanda could basically take away Captain Marvel's powers. At that point, if she has a Darkhold, if she has this, yeah, there's no limit to what she could actually do, you know? But there it's like in the comic books, there's like certain ways people get around to doing it. And if you're this like Tony Stark, like I'm not sure, like I heard about this, that he like built a suit that vibrates to the frequency of his multiverse and his reality. So Wanda can technically not do that, like not affect him in any way, but still like there's just like it's like comic book writers write themselves into a hole where like they give somebody this
Omnipotent
power that like reality warpers have this thing. Like Superman can withstand reality warping sometimes, but also he's just a Kryptonian. So like it's like how does he withstand it? But then it's like there's a whole bunch of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. In that whole scene with them in the glass boxes or whatever, and were you surprised that they named this universe 616? Do you know about 616?
Yeah, I was like, when they said that, I was like,
I laughed. I was like,
and the fact that who's it called in Spider-Man Far From Home,
yeah,
Mysterio calls the universe 616. He got that right. Like
you're guessing, and you're just like, yeah,
he got it right down to the point of like there is a multiverse. Like he was completely like, they'll believe this crap, they'll believe anything, and it was real. Like we need to talk to whoever came up with that theory,
yeah.
because apparently whoever is in that Mysterio group knows something.
all his little like the minions that were trying to get back Edith.
Who wrote the script? It was a guy with the glasses.
Yeah, it was the guy with the glasses, because you know, like it was a bunch of like little scientists that were trying to get back at Tony because, like, you know, they wronged him in some type of way, and we
He
have
wronged them.
Mysterio, right? For that whole dialogue and lore, and he wasn't just talking out of his ass. All of a sudden, he's right. Come on, please. They no.
We're getting off track here, okay? This is the thing. This is the thing that bothered me the most about this movie, was the fact that Wanda was so cool and she was so like, she was the Scarlet Witch, and the fact that she just changes up because her kids say, "Bad witch, you're not my mom," all this. Wanda, you're either corrupted or you're not. You can't be like, oh, the thought of my kids, and even if you want to do that like story, like put in like the kids change their mind, it can't be that fast where like it just happens. And it's like, show the scene of her like going into her head and things like that. If it was that easy to switch her over, Professor X should have been able to. He should have been able to go in her head, see what she really wanted, and like,
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just keep talking. I felt like it was so fast paced, and that's what I kept saying for um the whole movie. It was like thing after thing after thing after thing after thing, and there was no pause and no thought. It was just moving on to the next thing as fast as possible. And especially at the end when Wanda switched, I was like, she went
It was
all of
too
this.
resolved, too like nicely, quote unquote. Like it didn't make sense. It didn't feel like you're giving a character no possible end. So we're just gonna be like, you know what? You're just gonna off yourself.
I don't think she's dead. So
no,
She's not dead. Come on.
she's not dead.
Come on.
but like, even then, it's like, how I they wrote themselves into a hole with that. Wherever they kind of were like, good ideas, good ideas, good ideas, and once we got to the third act, it was like, this is like what I would have wanted, and I just came up with this like while I was in that room over there. I was like, it would have been so cool if they saw Wanda about to like break reality and break the multiverse, that the Watcher comes down and like has gathered people behind the scenes. You don't have to like do it, and he has like the Guardians of the Multiverse like just there reassembled and been like, go after Wanda, and Wanda could still like handle like half of them, but it would have been enough to like hold her off and maybe put her in a pocket dimension, or maybe like find a way to like get into her head and be like, oh, you want your kids? Well, like there's a universe where like
Wanda
died. There has
That's
to be one universe.
okay.
Yeah,
I saw the
that,
TikTok.
didn't that happen in What If? Like Black Widow, her whole like she came from the zombie one or whatever, and then Watcher was just like, you know what, this one they lost their widow and they need one, so we'll put you here. You could have done that,
Dude.
You're smart.
I saw TikTok and it was like, why didn't Wanda go to a universe where her children were orphaned? And I was like,
Why didn't she go to a universe where she had everybody and never lost anyone?
Why didn't she just start dating again and make kids?
I think she's like sterile. I think like that's like one of the things is like from her childhood. I think she's sterile, and I think that's why she had to create her kids. Is I thought that's what like basically WandaVision was basically telling us.
No.
No?
It is.
It's just
I didn't pay attention.
If she just wanted kids with Vision, and Vision's not human.
Well, like in the comics, Vision isn't even like they're like
In the comics, she has kids with her brother.
yeah.
So yeah.
But
Yeah,
in
that
House
was
of
the intro.
Yeah, look. There were so many things.
Why do we stop at kids? Why don't we make the perfect universe where everything aligns?
It didn't make sense. You're so hell bent. None of the universes we saw with Vision, none of them, which is okay, fine. Maybe you're only looking at the ones where you're the single mother because that's what you wanted to be. Maybe you don't want to go through the pain of losing that your partner again or whatever.
Even though he's out there somewhere, because
In your own universe, he's out there. You don't bring him
and
back
he's
in.
relearning.
because there's still White Vision and
Exactly.
That's
the
what
one
we're talking about.
He's
yeah.
out there.
And I'm
What-
just
You're not gonna go find him. You saw him go off.
And let's be honest, those kids suck, dude. when they started singing about the ice cream thing, I was like literally looking at. I was like, here. I was like,
it was
and I was waiting for Wanda just be like, not these kids, and like hop to another dimension. And be like, that was the worst. If I have to sit through that, ugh.
it was
I was expecting her to
so
go
awkward.
full bad. It was awkward, but then I was like, oh look, this is cute, and I'm like,
Look, that's what you think is cute. I was just like, her whole like storyline of her trying to be with her kids, but her like it was just so off, and I was just like, y'all are just making Wanda a villain, and you're trying to just do it whatever way you can. And I was like, in WandaVision, it was kind of like she kind of accepted that she lost like everything and stuff, and that she wouldn't be able to have it. And then I guess I understand like the Darkhold and stuff at the end of WandaVision, but I was just kind of like,
Also, we're bringing up a lot about WandaVision. Did you guys hear that Sam Raimi didn't watch?
did you watch it?
Didn't
didn't-
watch WandaVision? They had just finished rapping
Yeah.
when they started this one. But that doesn't mean that your writers aren't MCU writers are not talking. This is the plan.
But
This is
Kevin
where we
Feige
left
gave them
off.
do what you want.
Which you shouldn't have. Which
And
you shouldn't
You
have.
could feel it because like even Doctor Strange's arc, it's like he starts the movie kind of like just doing stuff, like just living, like he's getting ready for the wedding, and you're kind of like wondering, like even when he in Spider-Man No Way Home, he's just like chilling with his little coat on, like sipping coffee, and he's just like waiting for something to happen. But it's like the events of Loki, crazy stuff should be happening. Like
That was-
Everywhere.
you're the main timeline. Kang should be out there looking for your timeline and being like, but I guess it's too soon and we got to be patient and all this and things like that. But there should be a thing where like Doctor Strange, even in the comics, he's always protecting like the threat outside. And even like Karamantaj or
Karmatage.
they're protecting. They should know about the Scarlet Witch. They should know, like, it shouldn't be like, oh, Wanda's been hiding in this thing and now all of a sudden she's a problem. No, we should know that there's a Scarlet Witch in this universe.
We should know how to deal with her because it's a threat that has been known.
No. They know there's no way to deal with her. It's literally like, hey, please don't kill us. That's what it is.
What did y'all think of the scene where she was flying in the air and like throwing her like power at the shield?
Yeah.
That whole scene, I was kind of just like, I felt like she's more powerful than this. Like that's what I felt the entire scene, because I was like, we literally saw her build a hex. And I was like, she can't take down this simple
Shield.
protection ward. Yeah, I was like, this isn't adding up. Because if we saw
A lot of stuff about her power
WandaVision,
does not add up, because like in one instant, like that's what we were talking about. Like in one instant, she's all powerful. She can do all these things. In Age of Ultron, in Civil War, she's using this a mass amount of power without ever using it, without any spells, without any type of charms or hexes or whatever. What are they called? Runes, nothing.
But it's like this, like Wanda's power, she doesn't like even like she doesn't use her power full on until she loses her shit. Until
Yeah.
she like is insane. And when she goes crazy, that's when like you gotta watch out for it. And it's up to like reality is just hers. She could do what she wants with it. And it's up to the writers to create a story with that. And like, yeah, I guess like they could hold her off for a little bit, but then she's like, it was her being reasonable. She wasn't gonna
Yeah.
just kill everybody. But then once she saw like, oh, you guys are putting your foot down, okay, then I'll just put like some of my weight on you.
yeah.
And then she slowly started to apply more pressure and pressure. But Doctor Strange should have put America Chavez in the mirror dimension, or sent her to like a pocket dimension, or done something else, because I don't think Wanda can go into the mirror dimension, or she's gonna have to learn how to get into the mirror dimension. You could learn how to get into it, but still, she had no effect. She was put into the mirror dimension, figured it out, and was like, "Oh, I could use reflections." That's what happened. But if
When she was already in there.
Doctor
Yeah.
Strange should know, like, I could throw her in this portal and it would hold her in like the belly of like some ancient like demon that like will never like open, and then put that portal in another portal and send it, just make it difficult and more difficult for her to find it. But we need a story. So we'll just
Yeah.
like have this.
And especially if you were gonna do that for like a long term, like how are we gonna end up bringing her down? We literally can't do it now. Let's do that until we have
Figure out a way.
something. Yeah, let us amass more power. Let us find a way to get through. No.
Or she gets her like redemption arc. But one of my problems, okay, the scene with Evil Strange and regular Strange, the music note scene, I laughed my ass off that
Yes.
scene. I was like
looking at Grace and being like, how long is this gonna go?
I was
It was
so confused.
So hilarious. It was so hilarious to
When
me.
they played the
It felt
Dracula theme, I was like,
like what did you say? Like a parody.
yeah.
It felt like a parody. It felt like an SNL skit with special effects.
When Mr. Fantastic went like, Black Bolt can kill you with a whisper and all that.
Yeah, and then Black Bolt's like,
But like he
why didn't you do it?
he moaned right there.
Yeah.
And like something should have came out.
Yeah.
But
The
like even
magic
then,
was so off this movie. So off. I was just like,
That back to the music scene, it was very hilarious. It was so funny. I bet you those composers had a blast with that. They were just like, you know what, let's have the most amount of fun that we could do. The visual effects, they'll figure it out, but we're just gonna do some composition of all of this
very
stuff
Sam
together.
Raimi.
And
Sam Raimi.
what's another thing is Sam Raimi outside of this thing is the video editing of like the overlays, and it was very very Raimi. Felt very reminiscent of like the original Spider-Man trilogy. You get that montage of him doing things, and we're just like getting that overlay, and I was just like, oh yeah, that's
And
definitely
it like closed and then back.
yeah,
into
and it like
and
zooms
like,
in like yeah, we're just like, okay, we're getting it, and then
the music
And then-
note scene was I sat there
it's
and
hilarious.
I was sitting there, I was like, I couldn't like not smile, because I was like, it was so just out of the blue. I was like, I've never seen Doctor Strange do this ever, and we're suddenly doing this now. Like,
Mhm.
the fight for the life. I'm going to attack you with musical notes.
Yeah.
And you see how the other Doctor Strange was kind of like, oh, you're gonna outdo me, and he says, what, boom. And it's kind of hilarious how like I feel like every Doctor Strange, no matter how serious they are, if they meet another Doctor Strange, they're gonna try to outdo each other. They're going to try to do that.
That's his thing. That's his
That's his personality, yeah.
And I guess the music thing is like, a callback to like Doctor Strange being musically like averse, like he knows all of these songs. That's why when he saw like the Fantastic Four, he's just like, oh, didn't you chart in the 60s? As a callback to that one band, the Fantastic Four, that did chart in the 60s. Yeah, great, cool, funny. Don't do a whole scene based on it. That was not it.
I liked it.
No, I did not.
Because like we only get his musical background in the very beginning of Doctor Strange, like the first movie. We don't see it throughout the other movies. Like we saw it a little bit in this movie, but it was so out of the blue. Like I would understand if he did it like a little bit before and we saw a little bit of it in the first movie. But I was just like,
yeah, and this is Doctor Strange who read basically every book in Kamar-Taj, astral projecting to read it while he was sleeping, and you're telling me he couldn't think of any other spells?
I know. And it's like
he just felt very underpowered.
He did feel underpowered in this. And what are we gonna do? Now he has a third eye.
Oh, the third eye. My mom.
With the guitar riff, I'm like, what is this movie?
My mom made like, she's like into like espresso making and stuff, and she made like a third eye latte. But I just had to show this. This is how it turned out. Let me see if it will appear.
Yeah.
That doesn't work like that. It's too
yeah, we're gonna
I'm gonna send it to you. I'm gonna send it to you, Grace, so you can look at this.
It just was like and maybe this is like a middle movie syndrome where he just gets a bad movie. Because so far I've heard this movie is not good from a lot of different people.
I've heard movies, people saying it is good.
Yeah.
We were expecting too much,
but it's like, no, we weren't, with what you're building up towards based on everything that you're coming into, and you're throwing around the word multiverse, madness.
You build these things like Loki with the sacred timeline, and then that being broken. So then we're like, okay. And then the next step was Spider-Man No Way Home, and you see like there is a multiverse, and like that introduces it a little bit better than even this movie. Like this movie, it
felt disconnected.
It felt like when you find out America Chavez could go through these portals, you're like, oh, okay. And Doctor Strange is almost like, oh, we have a multiverse? And it's like, bro, you should know. You were the Sorcerer Supreme, for, like the villain for like almost a year. Like after Bald Lady died. Forgot her name.
And also in No Way Home.
It was just Sorcerer Supreme. She didn't have a name.
No Way Home, he wasn't.
Well, I mean, in No Way Home, he knew about the multiverse. Like there were like multiple.
He did know about the multiverse,
and guiding Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It was like, we know frighteningly little about, but like, I feel like you're just saying that, and if you know frighteningly little, you're Doctor Strange. You're one of the most annoyingest, like most like, tenacious person who searches for information.
Because like, you just have to have the information. You just have to know.
Where's the guy from the first movie? He was like literally like reading the books and like using the time stone and breaking rules.
Simply because he wanted to?
Because he wanted to. And that's why he's so dangerous. Like, that's dangerous. This Doctor Strange is a pussy.
Okay, you don't have to whisper. You can. He's a full-on bitch. Like, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, he's not a bitch. But like,
he's a pussy.
I don't know what set him back to like think like this. You know, it's like,
because it wasn't Endgame that set him back like this, because he did this whole thing because he knew this is the only way that it's gonna work out. So what's the change between that and now?
I guess Christine, like that whole he's emotional.
How did y'all feel about that plot line of like Christine?
I'll love you in every universe.
I love you. Okay, that kind of got to me. That was kind of cute.
Like, it was cute.
I was like,
Why you take her? Your universe sucks.
What's she gonna do in her universe? The Illuminati's dead.
So Reed Richards did say he had a kid.
Yeah,
his son. And that's alluding to Franklin Richards.
Yeah.
But like Franklin Richards could just make another dad and just be like, go, you're back to life. Or he could just put the string cheese like back together and just like
he was a string cheese.
Yeah. Reattach his head and like everything's back to normal. But I don't think they're going that way. And it's hard to say because you get your hopes up with like the MCU and sometimes they deliver on this. But like sometimes it feels like in phase 4 they kind of were like, we have no direction and we're just building more on the universe, but also that leads to like new ideas not going anywhere really. Like
it felt like instead of like a book, it felt like those like encyclopedia books where it just tells you everything about the universe or like everything about something and there's like no like really like plot to the book, but it just tries to tell you about everything. That's what this felt like, because it was like trying to explain so much about like the universe and like the MCU in general.
That's
and
what
stuff.
all phase 4 has felt like.
Yeah. I mean, at least Moonknight had plot.
No.
Moonknight was iconic.
Because Moonknight is iconic.
Is.
But Loki established that there was a sacred timeline and we're to assume that the MCU is a part of the sacred timeline. So like eventually later on, like since Kang is the descendant of Reed Richards and Victor Von Doom, that's gonna happen like later on in the MCU. That is bound to happen. Yeah. But it's like this movie felt like a what if episode. And
exactly.
And when it came time to like the third act, it felt like that's where we're just like, I think we should stop it right here. So let's just park and have everything resolved in the next like 15 minutes. Like America Chavez, like finding out her powers, like what did she do? Like she just had to believe in herself. She just had to hear those words like she's not a monster. Like America Chavez was good. She was fun. She was a cool character, but like I still don't know, like
she wasn't fleshed out enough.
And that's due to the runtime. Like even there was like that relationship between the lady who died and Wong. They were like kind of like, I watched it again and they were like kind of like touching each other and they were kind of like giving each other looks, and you would assume like, oh, they're in a relationship and that's why like he was so hurt that she died. And Wong giving away where the Darkhold is was written on the wall. The whole multiverse is at risk. And for these 4 people, like, yeah, the Cowman, I really like his voice, but like the multiverse are 4 people who died protecting and who are probably gonna die because they look like they were bleeding out. Like Wong was like, oh no, I'll show you where. Like, no, Wong, lie. Or Wong, die there.
How did y'all feel about the temple and like the throne, the Scarlet Witch throne?
It's cool. She's a vessel for like a sentient demon. So yeah, you have to keep that in mind. Like it makes sense that even like in WandaVision, it shows like there is a Scarlet Witch and she was always chosen to be the vessel and she was chosen to be the Mind Stone awakened that in her, but she was always going to be that.
Yeah.
And it was kind of cool. That jump scare did get me. I was like, whoa.
Dude, some of the jump scares from Wanda, the Ring-esque where she comes through after she
that
comes
was nasty.
back.
That was
I was like, oh my god, like
that was nasty.
it really gave the witchy vibes of Wanda, like her being like when like a witch and being that like
Corrupted.
demon-esque corrupted witch of her, and especially when she was in her mind and Professor X was there and she comes out from the red mist and she looks fucking scary, and I was just like,
Yeah. I thought that was like kind of alluding to like there is Wanda still in there, and that was the Scarlet Witch with the mist and everything. And
Yeah.
I think that was like Sam Raimi was saying that.
yeah.
But yeah, it's still like
Oh, also, on that TV screen, that's the only time you see Vision. Yeah.
And like he's not even like, you would think like she talks so much about what she lost, but she only talks about her kids. She never talks about Vision. And I'm like, if you really think about it, Vision was like yeah, she loved her kids, but I feel like on like the scale of like what really mattered to her, at least from the past, Vision was always like
number one.
number one. Like at the end of WandaVision, her and Vision were the last two together after she said goodbye to her kids.
Mhm.
It was her and Vision. I was like,
And so I saw this interview about like someone was asking Elizabeth Olsen, like, like there's this question, like, why not search for Vision? Why not search for, and she's just like, for my parents, for my brother, why not search for them and just for the kids? And they were like, well, there were a lot of talks going back and forth between like why would she go for this? Why would she just search for the children? And then she was just like, and then we settled on this fact of like, I'm totally misquoting and paraphrasing, but she basically said that it was like, once you get married and once you have kids, your kids become your whole world. And that becomes like your center focus. And she had already said goodbye and grieved Vision. WandaVision was all about her grieving the loss of Vision. So that part of her heart was already settled. And her kids, because they were so new to the loss, that's the reason why that they are
If you get over that so fast, you should be able to get over your kids. I'm
and
sorry.
like, and if you really think about it, her kids weren't real. Like Vision was real. Like if you think about it, like he technically
is real.
He's still there. And like you would think about, why didn't she look for a Vision in her own universe too? Like she automatically, when like, because the whole thing in WandaVision was like White Vision got the memories of Hex Vision and then he went away. Where did he go? And this is why I kind of had a problem with him not watching, or at least them talking from WandaVision and mom, like together, because it's like, where is he?
Too much question.
Like,
not tied.
And I understand her kids are like her main priority, but like, you can get a Vision and then make more kids. Technically, quote unquote.
You could go to a universe where they made Vision, but they made him fully fleshed and physically have some kids, because there has to be. But of course, we needed a movie, we needed a plot line, we needed
a reason for her to show her strength and kill these people, and then change her mind about like, oh, I'm not a monster, and it was the Darkhold controlling me this entire time. I don't think so, because you were doing this stuff before you even got the Darkhold. You possessed the whole city, and I'm pretty sure like you didn't kill anybody, but like you were like this close. Something setting you off. If somebody would have went after your kids, you probably would have killed somebody.
I think I sent a TikTok to Grace, and it showed like Multiverse of Madness just shows how like the Avengers was not a good community because they never checked up on each other. Like they weren't actually friends. Like nobody checks in on each other. Nobody really.
They were coworkers.
They were coworkers. They weren't like a family that it was made to seem. But I kind of understand why maybe Vision wouldn't be in other universes, because like in every single universe, basically, like, Thanos happens. And because, like, that's, at least for the ones we saw, Thanos, like, everything happened with Thanos, different ways. And because Vision is the stone, and the stone is part of Vision, I guess he would die in every single one. So that would make sense why he wasn't there, but it still's like there should be a possibility that he survived.
In the universe that they ended up in with the Illuminati, they went to attack Thanos. They went to
Oh yeah.
They killed Thanos at
He had
Titan.
the gauntlet though, but he had everything. And even then, there's Ultrons there.
Okay, that was confusing too. Where I saw the Ultrons and I was like, that's well, I wasn't it in the comics. It was Reed Richards who made.
It was Tony and it was Ant-Man.
Ant-Man.
Tony and Scott Lang. Not Scott Lang. Hank Pym.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was trying to remember his name.
Yeah.
Second.
Yeah, no, I can't. That's kind of sad because like Ant-Man is Hank Pym.
Yeah.
And Scott Lang's like the new guy, but like Scott.
Yeah.
Jonathan.
You gotta like Scott. Anyways.
Okay. There's this. Everybody who I see, they were like, "Oh, this movie was so great. It's setting up so much." And I'm like, "We've been setting up, and I'm tired of setups. I just want payoffs right now." But all right, I'll chill. I watched the movie again, and I'm like, kind of like accepting for what it is, and it's cool. Like we saw Mr. Fantastic in the MCU. Cool thing. Died really fast. Is an idiot, but maybe our Reed Richards will be a lot smarter than him.
Yeah, I did see a couple of TikToks of being like, "Oh, people getting so mad that the Illuminati died. They're not our Illuminati. They're another universe's." Fine. Okay.
Fine. Cool. Like I hope our Illuminati knows how to handle, and maybe they're a weaker multiverse because it took the Book of Ashanti to take out Thanos when Tony nearly did that by himself with a nanosuit.
Wanda was gonna kill Thanos. Like they literally straight up was like
could have killed Thanos with Stormbreaker.
Yeah.
Like if Thor would have got there sooner. If Thor was on Titan, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure Thor.
Oh, sorry, you go.
Yeah. Sorry.
You go, Jacob.
I'm pretty sure like Thor with Stormbreaker, Iron Man with his nanosuit, and Cap with Mjolnir, they could have took him out. And then on top of that, you add Captain Marvel. Like they could have took him out. They needed Black Bolt, who should be able to like take him out. Professor X, who is a telepath, and we saw that Mantis held him down for like a little while. They had a Captain Marvel too. Peggy, I don't think she's worthy because she is one stupid bitch. I could do this all day. When you said that, I was like, I hope. Like, why are you getting cocky right now? Your friends just died. And it was hilarious seeing her get cut in half. I wish they would have shown her like body like dangle. That's
the
too
thing
much.
about when she said I could do this all day, that's a Steve Rogers thing, not a Captain America thing. So I was like, no. But
you
also,
could not do this all day. And then on top of that, so many TikToks and videos of the edits of like Cap catching it right at his like right where she got cut, Bucky catching it, and all of them being like, "You wish that was you, huh?" Like, girl. Anyways,
Wanda did throw that thing fast, man. She lasered that thing. I clocked it like 200.
One of my things about the whole scene of Wanda and the Illuminati is Elizabeth Olsen talked about how Wanda wasn't at her fullest in the other body, but I was like, and she's like, it should like she's like restricted, and it's kind of like Wanda's driving that body, and I was like, I feel like she should have struggled more then, because she was like, since it wasn't her body, it wasn't well oiled to her powers. And I was like, she destroyed the Illuminati. Like,
She had more power in that scene than
when she
when she was in
body.
her own body.
And
Yeah.
and Doctor Strange came at her with like all those ashy bodies, those ashy ghost things.
Yeah.
The Souls of the Damned put up a better fight than Mr. Fantastic, Black Bolt, Captain Marvel. Oh, granted, they were fighting them one at a time, like idiots.
Yeah, you're the Illuminati, right?
Why do we do this in movies? I know this is like come on, guys. We need to get better. In movies, jump them. Jump. You throw the first swing, I go, where is Professor X? Professor X held her like hostage for at least like a couple minutes. If he would have been there, he would have held him, and then Mr. Fantastic could have lunged finally. And what was his idea? I swear, like, what was his idea? He would have like put his face there, like, oh, you can't see now. Is that where you get your powers from?
dude, okay, like the Multiverse of Madness, when the only multiverse madness that we saw was when Strange and America were literally like falling through all the multiverses, and I was
which was Doctor Strange flying through dimensions when he first encountered Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah, I was like, it wasn't anything really new. Like, it was cool to see all the different, like the Paint universe, the comic one,
the dinosaur.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was like, that was cool. It would have been Multiverse of Madness if we saw like them fighting through like different dimensions, like
if they were running through them, like it, like, you know, a lot of this would have been a little bit better. America Chavez has been on her own how long now? Since she was 16. No, since she's 16 now. But it showed that she went out into the multiverse when she was very, very young, when she was a little baby, right?
She's been in 72.
72 universes, and you're telling me you still don't know how to jump?
No, that's completely reasonable.
No, dude.
I think so.
You would have figured out some type of way. I kind of know how to do it.
Well, she did.
I don't know how to be specific. I don't know how to hone it into I'm going to this specific universe.
But look,
do I know how to hop into one? Yeah.
So now this is starting to make sense. She never had somebody tell her her powers are okay. Go ahead, use them. Until Doctor Strange came in and said, "Hey,
okay,
you're gonna do it. You could do it. Let's go, sister." That's what he did. It's canon.
Girl power. He was like girl power.
He did. It was basically like that.
Girl boss, gatekeep, gaslight.
Yeah, and then he's like, he has like half his face missing. He's like, when you kick that girl's ass. I love Zombie Strange, by the way. It was so that scene where like he comes out and he's like, "Urgh." It was hilarious.
I kind of fell asleep through that whole like the end.
The second time I fell asleep through that. The last thing I saw was all of the souls being made into wings, and then I knocked out. And then I woke up again to the second after credit scene. That's what I woke up to. I fell asleep. But I will tell you this. Back to like the whole them falling through dimensions. How that scene would have been a lot cooler of them fighting through every scene. We're getting Multiverse of Madness. I'm going back to the title because that's so important. It would have been so cool. Brief cameos had they fallen through, you know, and she has portals open wherever, and she has to run through it because Wanda's following her through, right? If they had hopped through and you saw different multiverse, different heroes, different things, like you would have
different places like we're not probably gonna get to see.
Yeah, like we're not gonna get to explore those because, you know, we don't have
like the negative zone. We could show like, I don't know, like I don't know, like the Nova Corps, like our Nova Corps is destroyed. So like
We could have seen a better Nova Corps because
a
our
better
Nova
Nova
Corps
Corps, like
didn't do.
different planets, celestial, like
Yeah, it would have
We
been
the
could have
cool.
seen
scene
different things.
the scene in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 when they do like time hops with like
Where they're jumping through the portals.
Rocket and
That scene was cool.
that scene was cool. That scene was like better in a way of like what happened there.
I wish we could have seen a little bit more. If this movie was to expand the world, you could have done more to show us. Show us the things that you were like, man, it would be really cool if we did this, but we don't have the resources to explore that. It's gonna take too much time. Show us right here.
But they gave us Mr. Fantastic.
They gave us a paint
They gave us a
universe.
Okay.
Bond.
One of the things that irked me is that they said this would have more cameos than Endgame.
It didn't.
Who said
And I was
that?
like, that was like
Mike?
one of the yeah, they were like saying like this is gonna have more cameos than Endgame. And I was like, there's like less than 10 people.
I mean, technically, it did because all those characters existed beforehand. So that's like their way of being like, we didn't lie, but
Yeah.
It's not what you thought.
Yeah.
Like, shut up.
And that's what they're doing. But they're also setting up. They're setting up Secret Wars.
He
They're
took the
setting up Secret
microphone.
Wars. And if they get Secret Wars right, that's gonna be cool. That's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool because
It's the sacrificial lamb of stage 4. Like, I feel like each stage has like the sacrificial movie of like the one bad movie from that stage.
We've had.
but our like their goal shouldn't be like let's put out
A filler.
a filler.
Yeah.
Like their
Yeah.
goal should be like let's make this as cool as possible, and that's why like we love Marvel. Like
Yeah.
Marvel does its thing, and like you see like sometimes they care about people who pay attention to these movies and pay attention to these things. Like you should put a little bit not more in the movies, but you should pay attention to the writing and these characters because like Doctor Strange just like running into somebody in the post-credit scene and being like, "We just started in an
Incursion.
You're gonna help me fix it. Are you ready?" And his eye goes, "Of course it is." Like
I understand
Doctor
that's his
Strange
like
would be
wife.
Who the hell are you?
Yeah.
I just fought one crazy witch. I'm not gonna fight another one. He's like.
He accepted that way too fast, and I thought that was a little strange that Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
Stupid. You're so dumb. Oh my gosh. Look. I will say this. After like the first time that I watched it, I was kind of like, oh, her uniform looks something. Later on, we find out, for those who don't know, that the after credit scene is Clea. And Clea is Dormammu's niece.
Yeah, a dark dimension sorcerer.
Yeah, which Dormammu,
Yeah, I
you
saw
remember?
those.
Yeah, you did see. I saw that it was a dark dimension, so I'm just like, okay, cool. Dormammu's niece. Dormammu is the bad guy in the first Doctor Strange movie, which is cool. Recall to that, whatever. But it was kind of like, okay, we're gonna see his storyline in the end of his second movie, which so far every superhero only gets a trilogy, and that's what they get, right? Thor is the exception for right now. And you're gonna bring her in, who that is in the comics is his wife, and right now Sorcerer Supreme, because Doctor Strange in the comic books is dead, so she took over for him. If that is the case, why bring her in now? And like that?
Because they're setting up the incursion.
And it's kind of like
they're setting up the incursion, but like if you're setting up the incursions right now, you gotta. It's getting to a point where we gotta wait years, almost, and these stories are gonna start. You're gonna start like they're setting up the universe, and it's feeling like big, where like these stories aren't touching each other like they used to. And gone are those days where like everything's taking place in New York, even though this movie took place in New York, and Hawkeye and Spider-Man and
All
Daredevil
take
and
place in
all
New
these
York.
characters are nowhere to be found or even like mentioned.
Dude, that annoyed me. That annoyed me. I was like,
Which is fine. Okay, yeah, okay, fine. In the comic books, they're not hopping into each other's pages every single time. Cool. New York is a semi-big place.
But that's my problem with Spider-Man, because like he's never had a moment where he's in New York and just chilling. And I hope like later on in the trilogy we get to that point. But the way that it's going, they're making Tom Holland the next poster boy. They're making Tom Holland the next Iron Man. And I hope like the Fantastic Four comes in and they're like take on this responsibility of like, no, we're kind of the leaders in this, and then they set up the Illuminati to be like, okay, we're the new Avengers and we do things this way. The more characters you have, the more you're allowed to be like, all right, there's a reason why this character's over here.
yeah.
Like,
Well, because they have the West Coast Avengers. They have like in the
Yeah, they have
comics.
the young.
Kate,
Yeah.
Kate is probably gonna lead. Like, and I really like Kate Bishop, and I hope she does her thing over there. Cool.
Well, it's the Young Avengers, right? That's what they're
Yeah, the
setting
Young
up
Avengers,
for.
which they have America Chavez, and then we had Reed Richards in the MCU, which now means if they decide to actually bring him in full force, then we end up having his kid, and then they end up joining the Younger Avengers, which is cool because we get that new generation and this new possibility of multiple things happening, not touching. But if you're having this overarching theme of this thing is coming and then you don't deliver, it's kind of like, look, I will say this, many people are like, oh yeah, you're expecting too much from Marvel, not everything has to be like that, blah 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 blah.
They've set it
But
up
then
that
it's
way.
like, that's their thing, that's their MO. Of course nothing is gonna hit like the first time that we had all of these characters connecting, and then all of a sudden we started getting after credit scenes that started hinting at something bigger. Cool. The reason why none of the first few introduction films connected was because they were introducing characters. They were introducing the world. We've had that now. We've had introduction. We know these characters now. We know there's no characters that are coming out new in their own solo films.
Or even the fact that, let's say it didn't connect. Let's say it wasn't like this big grand end all be all. It was a story. This movie felt like it was trying to be like, oh, it's introducing like the multiverse of madness. So like we're assuming like, okay, if we're gonna go that way, if we're gonna go like big story, it's gonna introduce new things. All right, I'll vibe with it. But if it doesn't do that, give me a good story. Like Avengers Endgame, not that good of a story if we're gonna sit around and like think about it, But it's such a memorable movie because what it represents, the stories, the
culmination.
the culmination of every character.
It doesn't need that much of a plot because it's like just a one big battle movie.
One big battle
is
this
what
is
that
what
is.
all our chips are going into this. Multiverse of Madness, it felt like it was in between that thing where like it was trying to be a character piece in a story and also introduce these things, but also it just falls flat on both ends.
I think it suffers from like the middle movie syndrome.
It does, because in the middle of the movie, you're so like, wow, that was really cool. And you're thinking like, how are we going to defeat Wanda? And it's like, oh, we'll just get America Chavez to punch her in the face 3 times and then like have her kids say, bad witch, yeah. And then she'll turn. But the repercussions of this movie, let's see how they play out. If they just do the MCU thing where that movie didn't matter and we're never going to bring that thing up again, or if it's going to be like Franklin Richards is pissed off that you killed his father and the incursions happen and all of the Illuminati are a part of a group, the Inhumans, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four. We don't even know if there's the Future Foundation in this, and that would lead into like Spider-Man. And we don't know if like Spider-Man is dead in this reality, and that leads to Miles Morales. We don't know. I hope they don't do that. I hope that Miles Morales is established in the MCU, but seeing as like, I hope we don't get to a point where like we forget about our timeline and we start focusing more on
Every other
multiversal
universe
things.
thing?
I hope every movie doesn't turn into like a multiversal thing, because like it loses its weight. It loses its like thing.
Yeah. Cause like Eternals and what was the other one?
Shang-Chi?
Yeah. Also the end credit scene where Wong shows up and then
I
like
thought
Yeah,
nothing was
we
mentioned
we
about
thought
it.
I thought like Wong showed up to Shang-Chi and he said, "Yo, some crazy stuff is happening. We need all the hands we can get. I think you're a good guy." And even then, I would think like Wong has been to other multiverse. Like I was thinking this far in. I was like,
he's been
"Wh-
Sorcerer Supreme
he's
these
been
5
Sorcerer
years.
Supreme." So like he's seen into all other multiverses. He's seeing Shang-Chi is one of the best fighters and an ally to the Avengers. He's like, okay, let me go find our Shang-Chi. Hey, come with me. Here's all this. Let's get it. Let's get it popping, bro. Let's go fight a witch.
Wong has been hopping
Shang-Chi would
around.
have died, no doubt. But
He
like
would've.
his
Yeah.
his rings would have lasted longer than Mr. Fantastic going here.
I don't know. I was expecting him to pop out in this movie before this movie. I saw it. I was like, okay, Wong has been popping around in all of these other things. He's been busy doing other stuff. That's why he wasn't really in Spider-Man No Way Home, right? Wong is becoming like the center point for all of these other little storylines going around. We're gonna see some things
It's
pulled
like,
in.
what's next for Earth? Because all the stuff is happening out in space. The Eternals set up like the whole thing of like the Celestials like finding out.
Yeah,
being
and then
judged. Then we have the Guardians of the Galaxy, and we have Thor: Love and Thunder that's out there, and they're gonna meet more gods. And
I'm
expand
so
that.
excited for Love and Thunder.
me
Yes,
too.
Me too. But what's happening on Earth? Like we have Spider-Man swinging around. We have Moon Knight
Who kicks ass?
Dude,
Yeah,
Moon
Moon
Knight,
Knight.
and doesn't know what's going on.
Oscar Isaac. Oh my gosh, the love of my life.
Beautiful man. Beautiful man. We have what's it called? Peggy Carter being like, "Oh, we got all the secrets and all this, and we're gonna sell stuff here." And then what else? What else?
Peggy.
Yeah, Shannon Carter.
Shannon.
Whatever.
Yeah, it just
feels like
this movie failed in like
Before this movie, we were talking often a lot about all of these Marvel projects, and we were just like, you know what? We're expanding and we're spreading out so that way we can see different things happening on different levels of this universe. We're seeing things out in the universe, in space, and blah blah blah, and we're seeing things in magical realms happening there, and then we're seeing things happen on the ground level. We're not seeing Hawkeye out there fighting, celestial beings anymore. We're seeing him on the ground, in the grit, in the works,
funny gangsters, like
doing that stuff, setting up, Kingpin. We're
hey, bro. just the bro.
We're seeing the tracksuit mafia. We're seeing all of that stuff starting to build up, right? We see the Black Widows, doing their thing at the end of Black Widows and Shang-Chi, right? We're seeing some human combat things happening, right?
seeing different levels
Yeah,
of superheroes.
But it just doesn't
This movie,
it didn't do its job on the magical realm.
but what it did do, I'm telling you, it made me think like, okay, if we're going to this thing where like it's showing Wanda's power level of how she could kill people like that, you got to be realistic when it comes down to the point of like we have another endgame situation where we have Hawkeye shooting bows and arrows to like the Chitauri and things like that. Let's be real. Let's be quite frank here. Hawkeye should have died.
Dude,
Black Widow should have died. And Avengers won. in Avengers 1.
Hawkeye just
Really? You're gonna survive an attack from the Hulk, Black Widow? No. Should have died. This movie set up like, okay, people can die. And I hope
Yeah.
we get to the point and get comfortable with the fact that, like, hey,
Not everybody's gonna make it at the end, and we're not just gonna lose one person.
yeah.
We're gonna lose quite a few.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so when Wanda, quote unquote, sacrifices herself,
Yeah.
what did y'all? I think she went into like another dimension or
She
something
disappeared.
like that.
She's disappeared somewhere, and she's probably punishing herself. And then that's gonna ensue in something else. Either that's gonna ensue in like her flipping around and her coming apologetic back into it, and we're gonna see her join up again and try to give herself a redemption arc, or we're gonna see her.
I thought she was gonna have a redemption arc in this movie, to where like the WandaVision. It even seemed like in the trailers, it was like I put that all behind me, and like she was coming to terms with also questioning the hypocrites and the people who are saying like, "Oh, we're doing this for the greater good. We're doing this for the greater good." But are they actually? Like everybody has their own intentions, and this is why I love the comic books, is because like nobody's really right at the end of the day. There is somebody who's watching all and judging them at the end of the day, but there's no pure heart people. Like even like Thor, he does some shady stuff, but he's still worthy in a way. Steve still does some shady stuff, still worthy. Peter Parker, he's trying to do the right thing, but sometimes he messes up. Sometimes he does things.
Peter Parker's a teenager, so
He's a teenager.
yeah.
But even then, it's like everybody's flawed in the way they're thinking. And I like that in this movie, it kind of tackled that idea of like, okay, what is truly right? And what does it mean to make this decision? I wish they would have went more into that when you're at the wedding and it shows you had one choice and you sure that was the right choice. I thought he would have been burdened with that thing where he's going around and he's seeing how those 5 years affected people, how we see like the events in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, how like these people are being put back in and they're losing their homes, how the world has changed
Because of the decisions that he made.
It would have been a much better story for Doctor Strange to come to terms with that and being like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And then we go into another multiverse and we find out like, oh, there's another Doctor Strange who actually does not give a fuck about anything. And I don't want to be like him. And then he goes to another multiverse and he finds out that all of these Doctor Stranges have the same character beats. They have the same flaws. And he's like, well, I'll try to be better. And Wanda's been telling him this all along. And she's kind of like turning more evil. And then she goes full on evil. And Doctor Strange has to talk her down and give her a heart to heart and be like, oh, like hey.
That would have made more sense, especially when it comes to the multiverse of madness, if we saw him going through different multiverses and seeing how his actions have affected people in because like they kind of hinted at it with like when at the wedding his like ex coworker comes up to him and was like, was it worth it? Like, was that the only option? And he was like, yes. And we kind of see him like having to deal with that, but it wasn't such like
enough.
it flew over your head. Like you totally forget about it.
It happens again when Wong is telling her to take her powers away. It's the only way. He kind of has this look in his head of like, this shit again. Like, why is it always me being burdened with this responsibility? And if we spent the entire movie going over that fact of like, hey, is this really the one decision we have? And then it comes to like America Chavez being like, no, it's your choice. And it's up to us to be accountable for our decisions. And it's teaching also Wanda in that same thing to be accountable, because she did not take accountability for what she did in West Point.
No.
She did not take accountability for letting Vision die. She let Vision die. She killed him, right? And then she brings that up. I let him die for nothing. Like I killed him for nothing. It's like also, yeah, the Mad Titan was there, and all your little stuff. Where was that to be found? In the moment where you needed it the most, you let him swipe you away. No, be accountable for your own decisions. That should have been the theme of this movie, but no. Horror. Ooh, Sam Raimi. I'm joking. This was a great movie.
I mean,
This was an okay movie. I repeal that statement.
Strike that from the record. Look. This movie had potential. It had the building blocks. But building blocks don't mean shit when you just give someone the reins who is not. And that's the one flaw for the Marvel universe, Marvel Cinematic Universe right now, is that they set up this recipe for how they're gonna build their world. It's like, we're gonna introduce these characters, and then in a solo movie we're gonna team them up, and we're gonna keep teaming them up because we're building towards something else. And there's gonna be Easter eggs, and there's gonna be tag-alongs, and there's gonna be connections. You gave us that for what, 14 years.
Mm-hmm. And you've never done it right too. You've never done it to where like all these. Civil War was the closest to it, but then even then it kind of falls flat looking back on it, vice versa. It did do a good job setting up these characters having their own point of views and their own way of thinking about a situation, and that clashing, but yet it's lacking still, because Civil War happens and then Infinity War happens, and then all is forgiven and we kind of forget about that. We're like, oh, now we're friends just because there's a greater threat. It's never like, it comes down to like, there's some characters that want to cut off Thanos' head, and there's some characters that are like, I believe cutting off heads are completely wrong. Like, there's things like that where you could set up like movies, like the individual movies should be establishing and going deeper into characters and finding out, and them testing their abilities, and them finding out new things about themselves and about their world. And other movies should tackle and expand their universe with that. And when they team up, it's like, well, I learned this and I learned this. This clashes with this. It makes for like even like more satisfying and a better movie. And I don't think Doctor Strange did that.
it felt too much like a Wanda movie. It wasn't.
And
I think
fine.
that was the whole problem, is that it was so focused on Wanda that it just,
The character development wasn't there.
there wasn't any development in this
For
whole,
anybody.
like, it felt like a filler movie. Like, it felt like, okay, we're just gonna put out this movie.
It felt like everything happened within an hour, even though it was a waste of 2 hours and 6 minutes.
It felt like you have to look for the meaning in this movie. And
Apparently,
yeah, like,
there's 40 more minutes. Like,
No.
they cut it down.
I think
Yeah.
they did cut it down.
They did?
Yeah, they cut it down.
No, yeah, I know they did. And I bet you 100% that those 40 minutes,
Were just scenes.
scenes, nothing.
They were just scenes.
Yeah.
And it would have been, keep those in there, because like there could have been a scene establishing why Wong gave up the Darkhold thing. Of like, these kids are really important to me. My job as Sorcerer Supreme is to protect people, and during the events of Endgame and Infinity War, I didn't protect them. Like,
You could have
seen.
you could have shown a brief flash, like a scene of Wong being Sorcerer Supreme during those 5 years. What he had to do, what shoes he had to fill that Strange does not know about, because his whole movie is just like, well, I'm Sorcerer Supreme. I was here. You don't know. I was here. You don't know the shit that I had to go through. We could have had a scene creating an emotional connection to those characters. We're watching this scene. It's just like, so what? All the rest of them died, and you caring about these 4? Give us an emotional attachment to these characters before you kill them.
And even like some people who have an emotional attachment to Wanda, like, you watch this movie, and besides her kicking ass in this, you really feel unsatisfied with it because
I felt so unsatisfied. I like love Wanda, and I was just kind of like,
I personally hate Wanda. Like, I find her really like childish, and
she
like
became annoying in this movie. Like she was like,
she was annoying in WandaVision to me. It's like she's talking about loss, and everybody's lost something. Wanda, everybody's lost something. They learn how to deal with it, and they keep quiet to it. And like maybe everybody processes things differently, but it's like once you're affecting other people's lives, you become the monster that you like are afraid of.
Right there in during WandaVision, you should have like this is a whole other discussion that we probably had multiple times. But if Clint was like so like at the end of Endgame, we saw them having that conversation, that heart to heart. She has
Nope.
been more emotionally attached to Clint than to anybody else in the Avengers, and he was watching out for her, and he doesn't check in with her.
nobody checked in on her, and I think that's why, like,
exactly, that's the problem. It's because just like right there, he would have been the one, like, you know, I've been doing this for so and so many years, and you lose a lot of people, and we're all losing. We lost people. This is how we deal with it. She didn't go look for help. She didn't go lean on somebody else either. And yeah, that's the whole reason why we end up getting WandaVision, whatever, blah, blah, blah. She's young. She doesn't know how to deal with it. She is like a child with a huge tantrum, destroying everything in her path.
And granted, there's idiots put in place at Sword, and that's what's like the most hilarious thing when like humans in the MCU are being like, "Hey, we're still authority." It's like,
are you?
Are you?
I'll tell you something.
I think like going back to that TikTok where it's like it really shows the lack of community that the Avengers, like the lack of community within the Avengers, because nobody checked in on Wanda and nobody checks in on each other.
And they're not fixing that now.
Yeah.
There is still no sense of community with the movies the shows that we have had. Yeah, there's a sense of community between Kate and Clint. She forced it, and then it happened, and then he gave into it, and he's like, okay, yeah, right.
But that's the thing. The Avengers are not a family. Like you look at the Eternals, family when they were having that dinner scene together.
Very cute.
And Kevin Feige loves scenes like that. Mm-hmm. He says keep that in. The scene with Black Widow and they're all talking as a family. It's like scenes like that are missing in the MCU, and they're slowly there. They're slowly starting to build up. But I do like the fact that they don't keep the event like the Avengers are not a family. And let's be real, like as we go into the future, we're gonna start dealing with who is actually a family. Like the Fantastic Four are gonna come in, and they have to get that part right. That they're not just superheroes flying around and just doing their own thing. There is a sense of family there. And later on, it goes into the Human Torch and Spider-Man having that friendship where Spider-Man almost looks, Peter Parker looks up to Johnny Storm and he sees him as this great thing and he wants to be that.
And weren't we talking about that after No Way Home? You were just like, oh yeah, he's gonna go to college, he's gonna start discovering all of these things, and then, you know, finding his own place as Spider-Man in this new world that he's in, right? Not having the burden of being Peter Parker. And then in college, he ends up
running into Johnny Storm, and he sees like a guy who has his personality out there and has his secret identity out there and just does his own thing. And he almost looks up to him and being like, oh, I wish I could be like that. But he can't. He can't.
Yeah. Do you think there's going to be a fourth one?
Oh, Spider-Man?
Yeah, with Tom Holland, a fourth one. Okay.
They're gonna ride that man.
Because they have to create a new one.
He's gonna be 50 years old.
He's gonna die. I hope.
I can't see him as anything else. I've watched him in other things, and as a child actor, great. Anything else that he's done since being Spider-Man, he's Spider-Man in all of them.
If we get to the point,
he's Peter Parker in all of them.
If we get to
it's the Twilight thing, where you only see them as the Twilight characters.
But Robert Pattinson is Batman.
Oh, He is Daddy. He is Batman.
He is a weirdo, and I love him.
It's so good.
Definitely
the
did not take a
eyeliner.
shower that entire movie. Without a question. No. You saw how he did take a shower after he met Selena? He cleaned up, he combed his hair and everything. And I'm pretty sure Alfred walked down in there and was like, there's no smell. What is happening?
What is happening? But
he met a girl. Look, it is this thing of like, you know what, they're gonna use Spider-Man, they're gonna use Tom Holland as Peter Parker for the long run, especially because the MCU is built around Spider-Man. He is he's the needle point. Well, he was supposed to be the needle point before, but you know, Sony had the rights and they couldn't do that. So they made Iron Man the center folk, and that's fine.
But now it's passed on to Spider-Man back again.
Yeah, you know, he was Iron Boy Jr. And so now Sony and Disney better figure that shit out, because Spider-Man needs he's in there.
Well, because basically Disney is now producing and directing all of the Spider-Mans. Like they've taken full, like we did actually for my strategic management class, somebody did like a thing on Spider-Man and not Spider-Man on Sony, and they were like, Sony doesn't like have the capabilities to produce at the level that Disney is producing at. And they were like, we honestly recommend them just selling off Spider-Man, because in the long run, they get the profits, but they're like, it's going to cost them more because they're having to pay the budget that is the Disney budget movie. And they like,
can't keep up.
And they're not producing it in their own studios. They're not like, they don't have
they're just
the writers
a
for it.
in there. They're just in there just to be in there. They're just like, my toe is still in the door. I'm still a part of this.
But don't get me wrong, Morbius was a 10 out of 10.
I was one of the suckers who went and saw that.
We did not. We did not go see it.
But I saw the trailers.
Waste of $7. It was literally $7 opening day.
Terrible. But look, I do have a question for you, for Jacob.
Wait, hold on. We were talking about the Spider-Man thing, and it just got me thinking.
Okay.
They're gonna make Tom Holland his thing, but the day Miles Morales is even hinted at, or we even get word that he's coming into the MCU,
more than just like, my niece lives in that neighborhood.
It's gonna be like Toy Story-esque, where we just drop Woody and the Golden Boy is there. And if they do the storyline where Spider-Man dies, which I don't think they will, I think they're gonna follow more of like video games where they're both like tag team in tandem.
Or like Spider-Man and Friends.
Yeah.
On Disney Junior. We watched that. We love it.
But like as they expand more of like the Spider family, and maybe we get to Spider-Gwen and all this thing, it does like beg the question of like, how long is Tom gonna actually do this, and if they're gonna keep him at like the main focal point of it, because there's probably like 4 more storylines we could do with Tom. Maybe like we could do the black suit. We could do.
Well, Black Cat is coming in.
Black Cat. We wasted Dr. Octopus in this. So if he does get a Dr. Octopus, like, oh well. And we don't want to see another Dr. Like, let's go. Let's try to get Tombstone in there. Yeah. Let's try to get Craven. Like, let's Scorpion. Go into this thing where like, let's reach parts that we haven't reached before. Mm-hmm. And even then, let's do new storylines where like it's not in the comic books, but like whatever.
Create your own villain.
Yeah, where like the MCU made Iron Man his own. Let's try something, you know. Yeah. What's the question?
When you walked into the theater to watch Multiverse of Madness for the first time, what were you wearing?
Oh, I was wearing a Fantastic Four shirt.
He was.
I
And my follow-up question to that is what were your immediate thoughts after the movie regarding that?
Regarding me wearing the shirt.
Yeah.
See, look, I knew the leaks were in there. I didn't know if it was 100% true. So I was like wearing the shirt and being like, if it happens, it happens. And I shown like I was always aware.
Mm-hmm.
And when it happened and he turned into spaghetti, I was like, huh. Not surprised, but also I am surprised that you pulled up to a witch fight with
Grab your hand.
with your hand. Like
Right.
get the nullifier. Come on, Reed.
And then you.
Yeah.
You said that this was your opportunity.
Oh, okay. So, okay. Right. This entire movie made me realize one thing. You're gonna take your time? Go ahead.
You're gonna want to see this. He was so excited about this. I recorded videos of after. I may post them, I may not. I might just keep them just for me and for family's sake. But
because I did work on it after the fact. But
go ahead. This
Okay.
made you realize.
This made me realize one thing. I have to get into the MCU. I've been going to the gym. I've been getting my superhero body ready, even though they say that's not important. It is very important because you can't be just coming up looking like, I don't know, a cheeseburger. Melted ice cream, even though that's the new thing with Thor. But even then, he lost all his weight.
Yeah.
So with that being said, it made me realize like I need to get into the MCU, and I started looking through the characters and being like, who's the guy I want to go in with. And since I saw John Krasinski give that like performance, that threat level midnight level performance, I was like, it's not that hard. It's not that hard. All you got to do is just like look into the camera and be like, just say your line. Like, seriously, where's the camera? Where is it? Right here.
Yeah.
Just say your line and just right? And say it with conviction. So that being said, I think I would be a perfect Johnny Storm. Not white. And I think we're moving away from the white people. Let's make him Mexican, Latino, whatever we need to do. I could play it. And with her experience of seeing me how I was raised and being a cocky piece of shit, annoying little brother, I have all the experience I need, but I also have the heart of gold.
He does.
And that's my pitch to you. Kevin Feige, if you see this, I'm not going to say where I live, but I've DM'd you. The DM has been sent. By the time you see this, I will DM you immediately after.
Give him a couple of lines. Give him the.
Oh, no, I'm not gonna give him that one because I still need to work on that one. But I'll leave you with this. Don't look at me like that. Give me 1 second. Okay, ready?
Look at the camera. The camera's right there.
Okay. Green line, right? Green light.
Yeah.
Flame on. Perfect.
10 out of 10. Gotta cast him right now. Woo!
Oscar worthy.
First Golden Globe right there. Oh gosh.
It was a good movie.
It was a great movie.
Good movie. Please put me in your movies.
And with that, he's out. It was very, very, yeah.
A lot of thoughts.
A lot of thoughts.
I'm surprised you didn't think we would be on the same.
I knew that you felt a certain way about Wanda going in.
Yeah.
And a lot of Wanda stands are, this is the greatest movie ever, and she can do no wrong. And she, cool, she did do that. But
She did a lot of
what
wrong.
else? What
But
else?
I won't, like, I would say it was iconic the way she handled some of the people. And it was like, oh my gosh, like, she's so powerful and that's cool and stuff. But I was like, but it didn't add anything to her character.
It didn't. We got the grief story. We got her hellbent on power. We got that. But now she's just doing it as a Scarlet Witch.
It
Cool.
honestly just felt like WandaVision in a different font.
This was the opportunity for you to bring in the mutants. This was your opportunity for you to really introduce some new things into the world, but you didn't. And I get it. Maybe you had runtime. Maybe you didn't want to dive into that too much. But if you were going to make this a Wanda movie, power to you. Great. Do something else.
Yeah.
Don't give me Multiverse of Madness, and don't give me the multiverse.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Well, with that being said, we'll have a few more minutes, right? Maybe like last 10 minutes. Really quickly, because we also wanted to talk about Moonknight, because I'm fucking obsessed with it.
Dude, I'm Oscar Isaac.
Oh, this is spoilers for Moonknight.
Oh, I already said Moonknight spoilers. It's the whole MCU spoilers. Oscar Isaac is one of the best actors out there.
I fucking love him, man.
The way he can change between Jake,
mira mi papacito. Oh my goodness.
And Mark. Him.
And they had William
and
Dafoe
Khonshu.
On it. They had William Dafoe come on, and people think that it's because they wanted his insight on having to play that dual personality in so quick of a switch. Because when they were filming Spider-Man for that, the switch between Green Goblin in the mirror and Osborn, it's seamless. It's right then. It's not like, oh yeah, they filmed that scene and then we're gonna cut now do all the scenes as Goblin. No, it's a seamless transition of him turning his face and you're seeing it. So he like helped him out with it, which great, because that transition, that difference in their personalities was so good. I've seen so many people break down this show, people with DID, and they have all been like, it's really accurate in the sense of like that thing of when you're fronting, you have no idea what the other person has done, the other alter has done. When you're going in, you just kind of black out and then you pop into the next one. There's often information that you're only catching the last glimpse of. Some one person was just like, when it does feel like that thing of you being someone else's fronting and you're the alter inside, yes, you can sometimes see if that's your way. And then other people with DID have it where if they're not the personality fronting, they're in like some other dreamscape type of space. So it has that level of a version of DID, and it was very accurate in that sense. So far, I haven't seen any negative reviews on that portion of it, and it's been great on that. I loved it so much.
And I loved this show because one, the director is a totally new like director, and he had a totally different like style of directing when it comes to these miniseries. And compared to like Loki and Hawkeye and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, those ones all felt so disconnected, and like, how can you wrap up the whole thing in one like 6 episode season? This one, however, I felt like when we got to episode 4, we were like, okay, we can see where this is going. And I think because versus like, at least with like Hawkeye, we kind of got that like exposition of somebody learning their like character and stuff. Mark was already Moonknight, and like he was already like Khonshu and him were already in cahoots, and then we see it from Steven's perspective of waking up and being like, who who is this person? And I
Because it's
loved
so
that.
separate.
Yeah, and I loved that we didn't see Jake. It was hinted at, and Jake was there. Like Jake was fronting, but it was never like recognized that it was Jake. Like people weren't
Dude,
like, "Who are you?"
people are saying like, oh, there's different portions where Jake popped out. That first scene in the village with Harrow, that wasn't I believe that it wasn't Mark who beat up all of those guys.
Oh yeah, no, that was Jake.
That was Jake. 100%.
The driving backwards when Steven woke up to him driving backwards, that was Jake because Jake was a cab driver. Jake is a driver who probably is pretty good with driving.
When he first
things.
got that thing of him driving backwards, and then like when Steven throws the gun, yeah, that was Mark. The first wake up in the van is Mark.
Yeah.
The second wake up, that was Jake.
Yeah.
There's like a difference in that tone, and
in the accents.
In the different accents and all of that stuff. It's absolutely great. I loved it. I've watched this show through and through twice. I've watched the first 4 episodes at least 4 times through.
Dude,
right today I recently restarted the season because I'm showing it to my mom. I absolutely love this show. I will not think about anything else. Like this show is satisfying everything in me. It's satisfying the little girl in me that was in love with Egyptology. You know, it's I loved it so much.
And I loved that I loved that it just felt so like realistic in like the sense that like it was that more down to earth kind of thing of like how kind of we were talking about earlier, the different levels of threats and stuff, and like
it was
the
its
visuals.
own thing.
Yeah, the visual effects of this, the fight between the gods. I was like,
I thought it was so funny because now I'm seeing so many TikToks of being like, oh, you know, so and so superhero or Shang-Chi or whatever, all of these other heroes looking at the gods, like Egyptian gods beating up each other over the pyramids, and it's that sound, like that's the type of shit that you watch from a distance. And it's just like, yeah, you know, because it is on its own. It's not in the US, it's in Europe, it's in Egypt, you know, it's doing its own thing. I absolutely loved it. I love Layla. I love Mark and Steven's relationship with one another. Steven owns my heart. I love him so much. I will and this thing of like, if you obsess over and simp over Mark, you have daddy issues. And if you simp over Steven, you have mommy issues. Well, I'm here to tell you, I got both.
I have both.
I got both. And I love them both, you know? And it's just like, I absolutely love that. I mean, that scene in the end where they're seeing Layla's, you know, in her uniform for the first time. And then like, Mark is like, oh, baby, you look great. And he hugs her. And then when he pulls back, Steven took over. He's just like, oh my gosh, you look so amazing. And it's just like, oh my God, my heart is just so full.
Steven likes her. You can tell he likes her too.
Is so infatuated with her. And that I love that because let me just find out that Jake also has a thing about her, because then it's just like, girl,
you got 3 in 1.
You got all of them. In every single personality of his, he's obsessed with you. Like the level of commitment, all right? Because man, and okay, that scene where where Steven first kisses her, and Mark is just like, "Don't you fucking touch! If you lay one, oh yeah, you have a crush on my wife? Oh, you have a crush on my wife? My wife? If you lay one hand on her," and then when he finally does kiss her, and Mark takes over for a quick second just to punch him in the face and then jump back out. absolutely hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. I loved it. I love the dynamic between the two of them.
This felt like that classic Marvel movie of there being action, there being that connection between people, and humor as well, where it was that perfect mix of what stage 2 and 3 felt like, where we got that sense of connection between
Familiarity
people.
between the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the juxtaposition between Moon Knight and Doctor Strange,
Mm.
like, yes, I get they're serious and stuff, but like,
Mm.
I really think they did it
Moonknight did
dirty.
so much better.
I think they did Doctor Strange really dirty, releasing it right at the end of Moon Knight, because Moon Knight was getting so much hype, and it still is
Still.
getting so much hype, and like on TikTok, Doctor Strange is getting so much shit. Like, people are talking about it, and like the only good things I
That's
see
not
from
even
it.
mentioning Twitter. Twitter is
Yeah.
tearing into.
Okay, but like the good things that are like the good videos, like that are like good in the sense that like they liked Doctor Strange, they're all about Wanda
Mhm.
and Wanda going off and like being a badass and stuff. And it's like, I really think they did it. And like, I think because it had that more horror take on like the film and stuff, was more that like horror-esque kind of thing, where it wasn't really marketed like that. And I think that's
It
also
should
where
have
it
been
let
marketed
down.
like that, and
Yeah.
then we would have.
Yeah.
It is what it is, but Moon Knight forever has my heart now because I absolutely love it. I love the storyline. Them saying that this is only a limited series and that's all we're gonna get, you got me fucked up. You got me fucked up.
We
Because
have to see more of Moon Knight. Like, we have to.
you could do a whole nother season because there's so many
there is
things you
set up
have
for a
left
whole nother
playing.
season.
Is it official?
Well, I don't know, but there's so much. Khonshu is still here.
Well,
Jake was just
There's
introduced.
content. There's content that they could do with it because they could decide what they're gonna do with now they introduce Jake, right? You can't just leave that there. And then Layla being, the first Egyptian superhero. Come on, she can't just be like, oh yeah, it's only temporary. But the feel of being Tarouette's avatar, she did really good. And she's rebranding the red scarab, right? And then we have this thing about the other gods. And then Boss is they said that Boss is, which is the Black Panther god, that Black Panther is technically kind of a avatar for Boss, but they're saying that Boss is in one of the little statues, and that kind of connection. And there's just so much more that you can do.
I saw for the Boss one, it was like they think like the first like Black Panther was an avatar for Boss, and then she was able to give the power of the flowers, and because she was put away into stone, so it's like that's how they continued the line of the Black Panthers, because Tarouette talks about the
ancestral plane,
and she talks about how beautiful it is. So it literally, that's why I think Moon Knight does so well, is because it connects to to Wakanda and their gods.
And then you're going into Thor Love and Thunder, and that's bringing in the Greek gods into it. And so I feel like they could do a lot more with it. I feel like don't do a movie.
I think a series is good,
because the show is doing so well with it. I can't, for a second, let's go back into Mark and Steven. How adorable and how sweet and endearing is it that Steven, every moment that he woke up, Mark for sure got up and everything, but he did everything to make Steven feel calm and reassured that nothing was happening. Fixed the sand, retaped the door, fed his fish. And then, when the fish died because they weren't there for a couple of days, he was like, no, lady, I need one with one messed up fin. because my friend, he really had one with one messed up fin and it died and he's going to freak out. I need to get one with, come on. The way he protected Steven's like world and bubble, and the fact that like he created Steven to like protect his own image and find happiness and all of these things. And then Steven ends up protecting Mark and being just like, it's okay, buddy. I got you. It's okay. And I just fucking love them.
I saw a funny thing, and it was like Marvel's really teaching people that you can only depend on yourself.
On yourself? Bro.
Because like Loki
Man.
falls in love with himself.
Loki falls in love with himself. Mark only has his friend Steven as his bestie. They're protecting him. And Jake, even though they don't know it.
Spider-Man ends up alone. Doctor Strange is... Wanda ends up basically alone again too, and only relies on herself. Or really teaching you can only trust yourself.
Yeah.
But
episode 5 killed me. I cried.
I was walking to school when I was watching episode 5. So like I heard Steven dying and I was like,
even before that, you're seeing the scene.
All the memories.
Yeah. So there's this theory too, that when Mark and his little brother go into the tunnel,
Khonshu killed him.
You see Khonshu's like a bird that looks similar, very similar to Khonshu. That Khonshu ended up killing his little brother in order to create the disturbance in Mark's life, and then therefore prepare Mark to become his alter. And it's just like, damn. Ouch. Do I trust Khonshu? No, I don't.
I don't think he's as good as, like, a lot of people are like, oh, Khonshu's gonna be the bad guy in the series. And I was like, I think it's a little too early. I think they could do that for season 2. And like, what I love about the dynamic between Steven, Mark, and Jake is that you can really see how the childhood and who fronted during which parts of the abuse. Because Steven was created as an alter to experience that happiness in their lives. And then Jake was the one who, like, based on how, like, a lot of people are like,
Jake took the abuse. He took the abuse. Steven was the Band-Aid to cover up the abuse.
And Mark was just the in-between of, like, trying to survive. Okay, the scene where after his mother dies and he's walking in the street and you see him, like, fucking bawling. And then
during his mom's Shiva.
Yeah.
Which, for those of you guys who don't know, is Shiva is the time after death, and it's celebrated. It's not celebrated, but it's usually in Jewish custom. So the funeral is usually placed after about 48 hours after death, and the Shiva is a week-long
mourning period
of mourning where they open up their home to friends and family to come and provide comfort and food and care. And that is the moment that Steven comes back out, because when Mark left home, he didn't need Steven. He didn't need him at all. Mark was the one in control. It wasn't until he started being the avatar for Khonshu, and then having to deal with the grief of losing his mother and never being able to reconnect with her again, that he had Steven. Because the entire time that he was with Layla, she had no idea about Steven, which goes to show that Mark didn't feel threatened with her.
One of my things is, though, so Mark knew about Steven, but they don't know about Jake. But my thing is, with Layla, Khonshu knows about Jake. So my thing is, like, I'm guessing when Mark first became the Avatar, when it was getting to those hard decisions, Jake did come forward.
Mm-hmm.
And like, because Khonshu knew about Jake, and he was like, and because like when the whole thing, when he was like, I'll leave you two alone,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, you two will be done,
Yeah.
not Jake. Jake and I have a deal.
Yeah, because as far as they know, it's only them two.
But now they know that there's somebody else.
They are in blissful denial, besides a couple bumps in the road.
Oh.
So they have to address that, and we'll see. We'll see. I'm hoping for season 2, and if season 2 comes along, I'm down and out for my girl,
Dude.
Layla.
Girl
absolutely
boss,
loved.
slay queen.
Absolutely loved it. I love this show so much. I have so many like designs of me just like flooding through my brain because of it. I want to make so many things for Moonknight. We'll see if they get done, but absolutely love. Obsessed with it. I cannot wait to go to Disneyland and go see Mr. Knight and talk with him. He's so cute. So many videos of TikTok of Mr. Knight and him chatting and the accent and his like little dopey self, and then like how he even like shows things to Khonshu, like people giving things, or you see like Moonknight up there and Mark talking to Steven. You see him kind of talking back and forth to himself. It's so cute. I absolutely love it. I'm actually more excited to see them two than I am Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch, I'm like, okay, cool.
You don't really care, but
Eh.
I kind of wish though you could go and see like you can interact with Moonknight, because like you can interact with Mr. Knight, but you can't interact with Moonknight because he's only up on the
Yeah, so far Knight hasn't come down, but that's usually how it is for some characters, and then they'll come down every now and then.
I hope he
I don't know, interacting with Steven is more fun.
yeah,
We'll see. But that is all our thoughts so far. Please do not take this as a don't go watch Multiverse of Madness.
you'll definitely need to watch it probably.
You'll watch it. Watch it. Go ahead and
watch it when it comes out on
Enjoy
Disney
it.
Plus.
Do not, if you haven't watched it already, what you still doing here?
Go watch it when it comes out on Disney Plus. If you're not
Rewatch it and rewatch it as a movie. Don't watch it as a Marvel centered timeline movie. Just watch it as its own movie.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll be better.
Yeah.
And if it's not, switch it over to Moonknight and rewatch that. Because I'm down and out for Moonknight. That's my dog.
I love me Steven and
Ooh.
Mark. Oh,
Ooh. And the fact that Jake speaks Spanish. Oof.
oh, that ending scene was like a
I just
I knew it was him immediately.
As soon as I saw the gloves, I'm like, ooh, that's Jake. That's Daddy Jake. Ooh, I knew it. I knew it.
Oscar Isaac just slayed. Like I mean, it is his show, but he really, his acting was impeccable in this.
He did so good.
He did amazing. Like,
what bad is there about this show? Nothing.
Nothing. Amazing. We recommend Moonknight.
100%. It's
Moonknight
getting roses. I am throwing roses. Just wait. Okay. So that's a good place to end.
Yes.
We're excited for upcoming Marvel projects. We are excited for things to come. We'll get back onto reading, hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully.
We'll
I'm
see how
buying
that goes.
books, but I'm not reading them actually. As per usual. Anyways, our shop is open, so we do have our full Brutal Ladies collection available now, so you can go ahead. Our shop is open on Etsy. We do hopefully have some summer designs coming out, so stay tuned for that. The announcement for the next week's guest is coming soon, so be on the lookout. It might already be up, so definitely go check out our Instagram, follow us there, follow our shop Instagram, because we're posting pictures from customers, some of our own pictures of our products, And don't forget to follow us on TikTok as well. We have our shop TikTok as well, and we also have our YouTube channel, so you can go like and subscribe there and watch our physical videos and see us talking to each other. I got a new camera, so please watch on YouTube too, because I need to make it worthwhile of getting a camera because I want it to look nice for YouTube.
And if you guys have pictures of you wearing the merch, of you guys listening to the podcast, make sure you guys do tag us. You may be featured on our Instagrams, and you may be, we might ask you to be on our shop pages. So just go ahead and tag us and make sure you guys post about it, and we'll DM you guys back.
Yeah. Well, we will see you in next week's episode. We hope you have a good rest of your weekend, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye, everybody.